And mainnet want to block you because you are generating too much requests and you are elevating. Let's say you have 10,000 bots. You are generating a real impact on their service. So they will not target the bots, but the bot master. And they will block, let's say, if you are making too many requests, you are hopping channels every 1 second. They will wait 10 minutes and then block you. Or they can even just look at your traffic and discover which is the private channel that they are using for each bot.
First of all, in a way, even though it's not currently on the table, you can actually use other bots to scout for messages and pass them to the master. It doesn't have to be a necessary single entity constantly checking, because the messages are encrypted back to back. You can send other bots to pick up messages and just pass it up to the master. Only the master has the key to decrypt them. So in worst case, you're risking flooding the master with chunks, but in the best case, you have like different sets of IPs, checking different sets of IPs. But yeah, of course, there is a question here. If we overuse a single resource, it might cause a denial of service effect, or it might take them down. But since we found so many different resources,
you want to be more resistant, you have to create more spaces to hope.
That's
if
correct.
you create more spaces to hope, you decrease the efficiency.
Yeah, there's a trade-off. You're correct. There's a trade-off, but the idea that we're trying to say, okay, so how about I'm going to tell you that instead of having an IRC botnet where you can have an instant access to your bot, the second you infect the computer, you'll wait, let's say, 2 weeks, and then you will have a botnet that nobody can take it down. That's the price that we're saying, okay, maybe our botnet is not as fast as other media because we don't have a direct way to access everything. There is some statistical factor here, the way it takes to find the message, the way it takes to answer the message. But once the bot and the bot master negotiate a private room, they can work on it in a very small intervals. So you're correct in your assumption. The bigger it is, there's more time to wait, but additionally, the end result is that you have a big botnet and nobody can take it down from you. Sure thing.
Okay, but you can compare this with the fast loop, for example, you know,
okay.
And it will give you efficiency and speed and almost no cost.
Until Internet or other DNS companies comes and says, we're going to stop you from using the service.
But how?
They don't allow you to register the domain, or once they see the domain, the self-flux method is currently being, that's basically the idea, or partially the idea that some fixer tried to rely upon, and eventually the security community just said, okay, we're not going to let it happen. We're going to take all the DNS companies and we're going to sit down and we're going to draft some regulation that will help us supervise it. And they eventually forced configure back to peer-to-peer because they didn't let the domains get registered. So in this model, you're not dependent on one company or one domain. You basically can use Wikipedia. And do you think somebody can stop you from editing values on Wikipedia or stopping you from posting comments on CNN sites? It's much easier for them, even when they realize that you're abusing their services, what are they going to do about it? And besides the fact that Internet and other companies are commercial companies, and while abusing their services, you're damaging their profits, while most of the sites that we've described that allow you, like Wikipedia or different sites, they're community sites, and they don't measure money and efficiency the same way, so most of the time they won't even care, or they won't even do anything about it.
I have one question.
Sure.
When you're posting your encrypted messages, I guess it's encoded and with base 64.
Correct.
Yeah, so big sites like CNN and any big sites with a lot of team are going to analyze the entropy of the message and going to filter out anything that's going to look like base 64.
You're correct. And There's a very easy way to overcome this problem. Basically, you can create a conversion table where you take a character, let's say an A, and you make it a word, let's say Philip. So every time that I'm going to use A, I'm actually going to write Philip. So eventually, I can work up some paragraphs. It will look like I'm a 5-year-old and I'm really slow, but it will look like a human text. And then the moderator will have to say, it just wrote a funny message. Well, maybe, I don't know. Well, let's lie. You don't have to use the raw message. You can play with it. You can use padding. You can make it like on the same texture as a regular paragraph. In that sense, you don't care to waste bandwidth. You don't care because you don't pay for the storage. So you can use other people and write talkback as far as you want, as big as you want. What do you care?
Yeah. So basically, even you can go further than this. Instead of mapping fixed things, you can take subject, verb, and complement, and then have something that looks like sentences.
Yeah. That will form simple sentences.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes no sense in the context, but will be correct. Now the thing is, when you do that, you just actually create a glimpse on what we are going to be hit with in terms of botnets. But at the same time, you're creating a market. Because big companies, when they are going to be hit by that, they're going to rely on some other experts that's going to be able to provide natural language processing. And then from there, basically filter out the context, the sentences, detect they are out of context.